Hey my duck YouTube, welcome back to a new video with Rams Fan YT. In today's video we have got series 4 episode 2 of A History of Your Club, where we're looking at Bradford City as a very historic club. Won the FA Cup way back in the day and had a disastrous stadium fire which sort of led the club to decline to where they are now, but they're also the first club in the 4th tier of English football to have actually reached the League Cup final. So very varied history, a very interesting one, and my grandma somewhat supports them along with like 5 other football teams because she's originally from Bradford, so I suppose that is her own team if you kind of want to look at it this way. This is being pre-recorded because I'm actually, at the time you'd probably be watching this, or maybe if you're watching in the future afterwards, I will have been at a sort of induction couple of days up at my university of choice. Okay, but without further ado, we'll go into the history. As league football was actually established in the West Riding of Yorkshire back in 1894, when the West Yorkshire League was formed. And a year later, the Bradford Schools Football and Athletic Association abandoned its rugby roots to adopt the Association Football Code. Several clubs across Bradford, including Bradford Park Avenue, which I've mentioned on this channel quite a fair few times because they now play in the National League North, also adopted the code during the latter years of the 19th century. By 1901, a team called Bradford City had played in the leagues within the city, playing for 2 seasons, but they disbanded at the end of the 1902-03 season. On the 30th of January 1903, Scotsman James White, a sub-editor of the Bradford Observer, met with a Football Association representative, John Brunt, at Valley Parade, the home of Manningham Football Club, to discuss establishing a Football League club within the city. Manningham FC were a rugby league club, you see, that were formed in 1880, and they had become a founding member of Northern Rugby Football Union in 1895. A series meeting was held, and on the 29th of May 1903, at the 23rd annual meeting in Manningham, the committee decided to leave the rugby code and switch to association football. The Football League, which saw the invitation as a chance to introduce football to the rugby league dominated area of the West Riding, elected the club, which had been renamed Bradford City, to the league with a total of 30 votes to replace Doncaster Rovers. Bradford City became the first league football team from the county before they had even a team or played a game. They and Chelsea, who were elected to the league 2 years later, shared the distinction of being the only clubs to join the league without having played a competitive fixture. A summer archery contest, which had been organised to raise money for the Rugby League club, was used to finance the club. The new club, that is, and the Manningham's colours of claret and amber were adopted as Bradford City's kit, but with Manningham's hoops changed to stripes. Robert Campbell was appointed by a 13-man subcommittee to be the club's first secretary manager from a short list of 30 applicants. Secretarial duties were carried out by committee member White, with Campbell's role more on the playing side. The committee assembled a squad at the cost of £917, 10 shillings and 0 pence. Their first game was a 2-0 defeat away at Grimsby Town on the 1st of September 1903, and the first home game was 6 days later against Gainsborough Trinity, played in front of a crowd of 11,000, including the Lord Mayor and Lady Mayoress of Bradford. It was not until the third game against Burton United that the club recorded their first victory, on the way to a 10th place finish in Division 2. The club faced having to apply for re-election in their second season, until 5 wins in the final 6 games lifted the club to 8th position. In November 1905, Peter O'Rourke, one of the club's centre halves, was appointed as manager, with his last game as a player coming the following month. He guided City to the finishes of 11th and 5th and earned them promotion to Division 1 in 1907-08. The season had started with an 8-1 victory over Chesterfield and included another 6 victories when City scored 5 goals or more, before promotion, and then the title was assured with successive victories over Derby County and Burnley in April. Ahead of their first campaign in Division 1, Bradford City embarked upon their first continental tour, and despite victories over German side Aachen and the Belgian club Verviers, the club's first league victory in the top division did not come until its 5th attempt, with a 4-1 defeat of Bury. It was their only win in the first 14 games, but results did improve in the second half of the season, but it was not until a 1-0 win on the final game of the season against Manchester United, with a goal from Franco Rourke, that City prevented an immediate relegation back to Division 2. The following season included a 10-game undefeated spell as Bradford finished 7th, but this was bettered in 1910-11 season, which is Bradford City's most successful campaign. Their league finished of 5th remains the club's highest position, and an FA Cup triumph with a 1-0 win over Newcastle United in the 1911 final is the club's only major honour. The first and third round victories were secured with solitary goals from Dickie Bond, but he missed the final 4 games of a run because of a club suspension. The first of which was a 1-0 defeat to Burnley in the 4th round in front of 39,146 fans. A crowd which actually remains as Valley Parade's highest attendance. The biggest win of a run came in the semi-finals with a 3-0 victory over Blackburn Rovers. City supporters were taken to the final in London on 11 special trains, but the game with Newcastle at Crystal Palace ended in a goalless draw and was even described as a decidedly dull and uneventful game. The draw meant a replay was necessary, and it took place 4 days later, on the 26th of April 1911, at Old Trafford in Manchester, when a single goal from Jimmy Spears in the 15th minute gave Bradford a 1-0 victory. They were the first winners of a new trophy, approximately made by Bradford jewellers Fattorinis. Bradford's defence of the FA Cup was ended in the 4th round by Barnsley, who went on to succeed Bradford as the holders. The 3-2 defeat played at Bramall Lane in Sheffield, following 2 draws, brought an end to 11 consecutive clean sheets in the FA Cup. This was a competition record. I think it still is. The sequence also included a 12th clean sheet in the second replay against Barnsley, which was abandoned because of crowd trouble. The Cup run had included the first Bradford derby between City and cross-City rivals Bradford Park Avenue. In the league, City finished 11th, the first of 4 consecutive mid-table finishes, before league football was suspended because of the First World War. City's FA Cup hero Spears, who had joined Leeds City, was one of many footballers to lose his life during the war. Bradford City players who died included Bob Terrance, another FA Cup winner, and Evelyn Lintott, as well as several reserve team players of Frank Buckley and Jock Ewart, who were seriously wounded, and Dickie Bond was taken as a prisoner of war. In 1921, Bond laid a commemorative wreath on the cenotaph in memory of his fallen colleagues prior to a league game at Arsenal. Just going from bad to worse, isn't it? Sneezing now. With several retirements during the war, it was a new-look side that took to the field for the 1919-20 season, when the league football resumed. The 15th place finish in the league was City's lowest since their first season in Division 1, and a 4th round FA Cup exit away at Bristol City was blamed on a pre-game trip to Fry's Chocolate Works. It was a position replicated the following season. And after 10 campaigns in Division 1, City were relegated back to Division 2 when they lost all of their final 5 games of the 1920-21 season. It would be 77 years until Bradford City again competed in the top division of English football. Having lost O'Rourke as manager in 1921 after he had struggled to cope with the death of his own son 2 years earlier, Bradford's results suffered back in Division 2. Both Bradford City and Bradford Park Avenue had been relegated in 1922, and with the rise of fellow West Yorkshire side Huddersfield Town, attendances in Bradford dropped. City's average attendance fell from a record high of 22,585 in 1920-21 to between 12,000 and 14,000 in Division 2. 5 consecutive bottom half finishes culminated in relegation to the Division 3 North in 1926-27, when they finished bottom of the table, following a then record 8-0 defeat to Manchester City on the final day of the season. New manager Colin Veach missed out on guiding the club to an immediate promotion when they finished 6th. But at the end of the season, the players had not been paid, and the bank was unable to advance any more money because of the club's overdraft. Had it not been for donations by fans, Bradford City would have not started the following campaign. A new board was appointed and they reinstated Peter O'Rourke as manager. Success was immediate when the 1928-29 season started with a record 11-1 victory over Rotherham United, as the side scored a club record 128 goals to earn promotion by just 1 point. City's successful team had also brought the fans back, and the average attendance of 18,551 is the highest average recorded by the club since 1925, when the Football League started to keep official records. O'Rourke left for a second time in May 1930, after he resigned because he was not allowed to sign a player he wanted. City spent 8 seasons back in Division 2, but the nearest they came to stepping up to the top flight was in 1933-34, when at one point they topped the division. Their 6th place finish was the highest position since the club had been in Division 1 and will not be bettered until the 1980s. Relegation back to Division 3 North came in 1936-37. City were runners-up in the Division 3 North Challenge Cup a year later, before they won the same competition in the last year before league football was again suspended because of war. New manager Jack Barker lasted just 8 months until he was replaced by former Leeds United player Jack Milburn upon the resumption of league football in 1946. Milburn led City to a 5th position in his first season, but only lasted another season himself. With only one team promoted from Division 3 North each season, City remained at that level until they were replaced in Division 3 in 1958-59 after a league reorganisation. And following a 20-year high position of 3rd the previous season, in 1960, 8 years after part of the ground's Midland Road stand had been closed following examinations of the foundations, ordered as a result of the 1946 Burnden Park disaster. The entire stand was closed, leaving the ground with just 3 stands. But after just 3 years in Division 3, City dropped into Division 4 in 1960-61. Although that season they did defeat Division 1 side Manchester United in City's first ever League Cup tie. United, like many other top flight clubs, will not enter the competition again until 6 years later. Despite a club record 9-1 defeat to Colchester United on the 30th of December 1961, City came 5th in 1961-62, thanks to David Lane's 34 league goals. His total remains a club record for a season, but missed out on promotion by just 1 point. Lane left for Sheffield Wednesday, and City finished 23rd the following season, forcing them to apply for re-election. In 1966, the club's board of directors moved the pitch 2.74 metres, or 3 yards, closer to the main stand, creating enough space for them to add a new safe standing area on the Midland Road side of the ground, and opened all 4 stands for the first time since 1960. Attendances continued to drop, and a new record low of 1,353 was set on the 12th of May 1966 against Wrexham. It prompted Chairman Stafford Higginbotham to hold a crisis meeting in the city's St George's Hall to raise new funds and safeguard the future of the club. The club's indifferent form of the field continued, with another re-election and 2 narrow promotion failures, before promotion was gained in 1968-69. Only the previous season, City had 3 managers, when Grenville Hare, who replaced Willie Watson, died just 2 months into his reign, after he collapsed at the end of a training session. Striker Bobby Ham, whose 18 goals had helped City into Division 3, was again the top goal scorer the following season, but the club's stint in Division 3 was short-lived. Once Ham and fellow Bradford-born striker Bruce Bannister, who scored 60 goals during 7 seasons with the club, both left. City were relegated back into the bottom division in 1971-72. The spell in Division 3 had also been notable for the debut of Se4, who went on to play a record 502 league games during 14 seasons with the club. City spent 5 seasons back in Division 4, and in 1975-76 they had their best FA Cup run in more than 50 years after defeating Norwich City, before they were knocked out in the quarter-finals by eventual winners Southampton 1-0. A year later, more than 40 goals from a trio of Dominican striker Joe Cook, Terry Dolan and Don Hutchins helped City to another promotion when they finished in 4th position. The club's board failed to strengthen the squad the following season, resulting in an instant return to Division 4. Under new manager George Mulhall, City spent 3 seasons in mid-table, although a late spell of form nearly earned promotion in the 1979-80 campaign. In May 1981, City appointed former England international defender Roy McFarland as their new manager. After starting the 1981-82 season with a defeat and a draw, City went on to top the table during a run of 9 successive league victories, equalling a 30-year club record. The run came to an end against Sheffield United in front of 13,711 fans at Valley Parade, producing the then club record gate receipts of £17,938. Arctic conditions across Britain meant City played only once during December, but they went back to the top of the Division 4 table in January, and City finished the season second, 5 points behind Sheffield United, and were promoted back to Division 3. 3 months into the following campaign, McFarlane and his assistant Mick Jones handed in their resignation and left for Derby County. Derby had to pay a large fine and compensation to City for poaching the pair, and Chairman Bob Martin turned to another England centre-back and appointed Trevor Cherry as McFarlane's replacement from West Yorkshire rivals Leeds United. Cherry and assistant Terry Yorath continued to build on McFarlane's start to the period which would later be called Bantam Progressivism by fanzine The City Gent. Despite not recording their first win for more than 2 months, the pair guided City to 12th position. The club were again in financial difficulties, and in June 1983, Martin called in the receivers and the club was put up for sale. A Se4 City fund was launched on the 24th of July, and former chairman Stafford Higginbotham and former board member Jack Tordoff bought the club, forming a new company and enabling the team to start the new league campaign. Centre forward Bobby Campbell was sold to Derby County to balance the books, and John Hawley brought in as his replacement. City struggled on the pitch and won just 1 of their first 15 games, leaving them in the relegation zone. Campbell had played just 11 games during 4 months with Derby, and so he returned to Bradford, initially on a loan transfer. His return coincided with a club record 10 successive league victories. Campbell finished the season with 9 goals, Hawley with 22, but City finished 7th and missed out on promotion. The good form continued the following season, and from October to mid-December 1984, City embarked on a 13-match unbeaten run, during which time Campbell became the club's all-time leading goalscorer, beating Franco Rourke's 70-year-old record. City went on to top the division and held onto their lead, opening an 11-point cushion by February. Promotion was secured in April and the club's first championship title since 1929 after a 2-0 win over Bolton Wanderers. But this success was overshadowed when fire ripped through Valley Parade's main stand 40 minutes into the final game of the season on the 11th of May 1985 against Lincoln City. A total of 56 people died, and the club did not play another game at Valley Parade for nearly 20 months. And my heart does go out to all them people who had any family members or friends lost in that disaster. There were so many people who died. I don't know exactly what caused it, but it was a terrible, terrible tragedy. And it was quite an old stadium, so it could have been something like that. So City then had to instead play their home games at Ellen Road, Leeds Road and Odsall during the 1985-86 season, when they came 13th, and for the first half of the 1986-87 campaign they returned to Valley Parade, which had undergone a £2.6 million redevelopment, and they played on Boxing Day 1986 against Derby County. In the 80s, they linked with Derby County, aren't they? With the ex-Derby player McFarland as the manager, and then being poached by Derby, and then one of their players getting sold by Derby and playing Derby quite a bit, because this was like sort of Derby's low period, or it's sort of the increasing progressiveness, as we'll find out. And after managing the side during the financial hardship and time away from their home ground, Cherry was dismissed only 10 days after return to Valley Parade. Club coach Terry Dolan was appointed as manager, and he led the side away from relegation and to a finish of 10th place. By September 1987, Dolan's side topped Division 2 for the first time in 54 years. They finished 4th after the final day of defeat to Ipswich Town and missed out on promotion after they lost to Middlesbrough in the playoffs. Leading players Stuart McCall and John Hendry, who had both stayed for another season in a bid to take City into Division 1. Both left, and within 2 seasons City again dropped into Division 3. In January 1988, Stafford Higginbotham resigned as the club's chairman due to ill health. For 3 seasons, City finished in mid-table in Division 3, and the new Division 2 when the leagues were renamed following the formation of the Premier League. In January 1994, Geoffrey Richmond took over as chairman. He cleared the debts, loaned the club at £2.3 million and promised the fans he would take the club to the Premier League within 5 years. In his first season as chairman, the club finished in 7th place with Frank Stapleton as manager. Stapleton was then sacked and was replaced by Lenny Lawrence. Lawrence could only finish 14th in his first season before he left for Luton Town in November 1995 to be replaced by his assistant Chris Kamara. Kamara secured a playoff spot with a final day victory over Hull City, before City defeated Blackpool in the playoff semi-finals. The final against Notts County was the City's first game at Wembley. Goals from Des Hamilton and Mark Stallard gave them a 2-0 win. This secured them a promotion to Division 1. Kamara used 42 players in 1996-97 when City avoided relegation with a 3-0 victory in the final game against Queen's Park Rangers. Kamara was sacked in January 1998 after an FA Cup defeat to Manchester City, when Richmond claimed the manager had taken the club as far as he could. Richmond again elevated from within, and with Paul Jewell, who had been at the club since 1988, was installed as manager, originally on a caretaker basis. He was appointed on a full-time basis in May 1998, and Richmond backed his new appointment with a multi-million transfer budget. Jewell signed strikers Lee Mills from Port Vale and Isaiah Rankin from Arsenal for £1 million and £1.3 million respectively, and signed former captain Stuart McCall from Rangers on a free transfer to lead the side. Despite a poor start, the club secured promotion to the top division for the first time in 77 years, with a 3-2 victory over Wolverhampton Wanderers in the final game of the 1998-99 season. City's success meant that Dean Windass, who had signed from Oxford United in March, became the club's third £1 million signing of the season. Windass had originally been signed for £950,000, but an additional fee of £50,000 was paid to Oxford because of City's promotion. Jewell broke the club's transfer record to add a fourth seven-figure signing when he paid £1.4 million to Leeds United for David Weatherall. Jewell added other senior players including Neil Redfern and Dean Saunders, prompting the media to call his team Dad's Army. When City defeated Middlesbrough 1-0 with a late goal from Saunders, his goal celebration mocked the critics' comments. City failed to win another game until their 8th game of the season, and Sky Sports pundit Rodney Marsh said they would be relegated and promised to save his hair at a home game if they avoided such a feat. A run of 9 home games, though, without defeat and consecutive victories in April gave City a hope of avoiding relegation in the final day of the season. A final day 1-0 victory over Liverpool with a goal from Weatherall, who had played every minute of the season, and Wimbledon's defeat meant City survived with a record low survival of 36 points. Less than 2 months after City stayed up, Jewell left to join Sheffield Wednesday to be replaced by his assistant Chris Hutchings. The club entered the Intertoto Cup, the first time they had competed in a European competition, not entirely sure why, in which they were defeated by FC Zenit St. Petersburg in the semi-finals. Richmond gave Hutchings more money than Jewell to spend in the transfer market, and Bradford paid a club record £2.5 million for David Hopkin and £1.5 million for Ashley Ward, and signed Italian striker Benito Carbone on wages of £40,000 per week. Richmond also continued to redevelop the ground, which increased the capacity to 25,136. But this was later referred to as spending as his 6 weeks of madness. In their second season of the Premier League, City struggled for form, and Hutchings was sacked after a start of the season, in which he recorded just 1 victory from 12 league games. Under new manager Jim Jeffries, the club were unable to avoid a relegation, which was confirmed with a 2-1 defeat at Everton, when they missed out by 2 penalties. Well, they missed 2 penalties, so they couldn't win. Before finishing the season with just 26 points. Jeffries was sacked in December 2001 following a training ground rift with Captain McCall. Nicky Law was appointed his successor, and the club finished the season in 15th place. During the summer, with debts of nearly £13 million as a result of a collapse of the ITV Digital and the fallout from Richmond's self-proclaimed 6 weeks of madness, the club were forced into administration. The players were all released, but Carbone waived much of the money owed to him to help the club survive under new owners Julian Rhodes and Gordon Gibb. City fulfilled their fixtures during the 2002-03 season, but finished 19th. Former England captain Brian Robson took over as new manager during the following season, but under his management City won only 7 games from 28 and were relegated in 23rd place. Robson left and was replaced by his assistant Colin Todd. So they've had both of the Derby County centre-back pairings then as at their club as manager at different spells. And the club went into administration for a second time, but Todd led them to 11th in each of the following 2 seasons. Following fan pressure and a poor run of results, Rhodes sacked Todd on the 12th of February 2007, with City just 3 points above relegation zone. Weatherall was appointed as player-manager on a temporary basis, and then for the rest of the season, but City were relegated following a 3-0 defeat to Chesterfield. During the summer 2007, former midfielder Stuart McCall returned as manager with City in the bottom tier for the first time in 25 years. He set himself a target of earning promotion back to League One in his first season, but twice missed out on promotion before he left the club in February 2010, with City lying 16th in League Two. In January 2013, City became the first club from the fourth tier of English football since Rochdale in 1962 to reach the Football League Cup final, and the first fourth tier club ever to reach a major final at Wembley. They defeated 3 Premier League sides en route to the final, with Wigan Athletic being beaten 4-2 on penalties in the fourth round, Arsenal 3-2 on penalties in quarter-finals, and Aston Villa 4-3 in aggregate over the 2 legs of the semi-final. They met Premier League side Swansea City in the final at Wembley, but lost 5-0. In May 2013, the club returned to Wembley, where they defeated Northampton Town 3-0 in the League Two playoff final to secure a place in League One for the 2013-14 campaign. On the 24th of January 2015, Bradford City caused an upset by beating Premier League leaders Chelsea 4-2 away in the FA Cup. The victory sent Bradford through to the 5th round for the first time in 18 years. There they defeated another top-flight team, Sunderland, to reach their first FA Cup quarter-final since 1976, in front of their biggest home crowd for 50 years. Bradford were eliminated in the quarter-final by Reading after a replay, and the team finished in last place in the 2018-19 campaign when they were relegated back to League Two. In December 2021, the club was approached by American investors known as WAGMI United, who used cryptocurrency and NFTs about a possible buyout, but the offer was rejected. On the 24th of February 2022, former Wales manager Mark Hughes was appointed manager of the club on a contract until the summer of 2024. I think that's pretty much where they are now. They've pretty much still got them players, managers, still Mark Hughes. Yeah. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe if you're new around here. Please do go and watch my video, which I will be uploading later today, but will have already been uploaded, for predictions of the National League North-South. And on Friday I'll do the predictions of the National League. But I hope you very much enjoyed this video, and it's goodbye for now.